Good morning, ladies. Say, if we let you out today to enjoy the sun, I don't know if you know this about goats. I'm going to teach you something real quick here. They're inside a fenced area, goes all the way around in a gigantic square. It is, what do you think, 100 times bigger than necessary for two lazy old goats like yourselves. There's green grass in there. There's leaves in there. There's all sorts of delicious treats. Do you guys eat the delicious treats inside your giant pen? No. Nope. They say that those treats are garbage. Why? Because they're inside the fence. But if you do this, yes, baby. Now once they're out, well, now they can eat the grass on this side of the fence. Isn't that right, Matilda? Belle, what about you? They want what's in this bag, actually. Trimming scraps. You know, I see in homesteading, compost is a big thing. Lots of people compost. We don't really have anything to compost. We feed it all to these two mangy monsters. Nom, 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 nom. Well, get you some fresh water time. Yeah. Oh, I see you there. You gonna come out and help rototill the garden? Yeah, good. This is actually beautiful habitat here, goat habitat. We did this last year, and of course, we didn't film any of the fencing process. I think it was about 25 below or so, and my wife and I put up all the wire. I had already gotten the posts in before it froze, but we got beautiful, it's grassy up top, lots of sun. They got shade back here. There's lots of, good foraging type material. The only thing they don't like, goats are, they're a very cautious animal because they have no predator defense skills. Safety in numbers, but there's only two of them. So they stick it up top here. They don't like to be close to the woods for good reason. That's where things that could eat them go. We'll let you out if you promise not to ruin things you're not supposed to touch. See? Magic. This side of the fence, the grass is good to eat. So you're going to join me on a bit of a homestead day today. We'll take a break from contracting and 47 other projects that I've been up to do some stuff home base. Happy Mother's Day. It is Mother's Day. By the time you moms watching the channel see this, well, the day will be over and gone, but what you do is important, and without it, well, what the heck would us kids and us fellas even do without you? We got a little equipment to get ready here. I'm not a big fan of yard work. Some people obsess about their lawns. What is that? They out there and they're cutting patterns in the grass. We treat our yard like a field. We mow it to keep the critters down and the fire hazard away. And, we're raising country kids, but they do like to have somewhere soft to run around in. A little grass never hurt. Get the mower out, get a thatcher going. This is the real eye of the prize. Look at this. A little bit of food security in the works. We had a real struggle with this garden last year. We never really had an established garden plot since we've lived here. We've moved it a couple times and just did it on the fly, growing potatoes and carrots and whatnot wherever we could. So if you look way back in the channel, that fence, I think it might be one of the very first videos on the channel. Go back, leave a comment. Leave a comment referencing that you watched the very first full-length feature film that the Spruce Stomper channel ever did on this garden fence. Anyways, we put it up, put it around here. The soil was terrible. I'm no farmer, but I know bad dirt when I see bad dirt. It was so hard that we grew beets about the size of marbles. So we got 10 yards of sand, 10 yards of compost. Oh, and we have a rototiller kicking around here somewhere. Not a huge rototiller, the best kind of rototiller, one that we're using free of charge. We have wonderful neighbors, family and neighbors, just beauty. I'll show you a real treat here. From the other weekend, I finished the soffit on this side of the shop, so it's all closed up. Trying to make a little progress on that project, but against my better judgment, my wife talked me into hanging these two bird houses. Now, Those bird houses, they used to be over in the garden, and tragically, they were hung on some hangers. They did get birds' nest in them, but squirrels found their way to them. And well, squirrels, massacre, murderers of the forest. So now they're up there. The squirrels can't get up there, and really, really cool. We have 3 pairs of swallows that come back to our yard every year, build nests. These 2 houses have been fully occupied, and the other set, I don't know. They ended up somewhere else. They're around. I think they're building more of a natural nest somewhere in the bush. But these two pairs right here on the shop. Hopefully they don't make a mess. But it's making the kids happy. It's fun to see the little birdies. They have their babies. They hatch out. The whole thing's an experience. Oh, look at that. An agate. I started years ago doing this thing with my son. Kids collect rocks. I mean, how many of you haven't picked up and collected agates, think you were going to do something? You don't do anything with them. You just end up with a bag of rocks. But I'm always on job sites, lots of gravel and stuff. And I noticed when I stick them in my pocket, I bring him home. He gets real excited, He's got a whole box full of rocks. Well, this has gone on for years now. I don't think he's as interested in it as I am, but I still do it. And the only way to find agates is you got to look like you're not looking. If you specifically look for the agate, I don't think you'll ever find one. But they just happen to catch your eye as you're moving around. That's what we're trying to get to there. Look at this. Haven't been doing videos on this because I've got a very interesting method for the edger project. If you don't know what it is, pink thumbnail. Very well crafted. Go back, click on it, reviving or saving an edger. Those are potatoes. We're gonna get to those today, maybe. The edger project. So my process has been soak her down with this. No affiliation. Don't get me wrong, WD-40. If you want to drop me a line, we can chat. I don't know if you've noticed by my videos. I'm pretty handy. Might use it. WD-40 Specialist Rust Release. We got this edger home, got her in the garage here. You saw the video, roll it across on some snowmobile dollies. I just went to soaking her down every night for a few weeks. And I thought, man, this could be a real bear. There's a lot of rust here. Popped the whole thing apart with just dang hand tools, like not an impact in sight. It's pretty well apart. I just got to pop these the large shafts out, and there's a couple pieces I'm not going to show you because I'm confident that I'm going to figure it out on my own, and then I can pretend in the video when I do a video on it that I knew what I was doing. That I don't know how they got it apart. It almost looks like a few things were put in and then welded shut. You know what I mean? Sequence of order of operations, something like that. Anyways. So rest assured, still in the works. We got a couple of saws over here you've never seen. We'll have to bust those out, but we got to get the lawnmower out. Lawn tractor, people like to call it. Do you notice that? Do you know somebody that references it as gotta get my lawn tractor out? Buddy, okay? If it isn't over like 25 horsepower, stop calling it a tractor. You own a lawnmower. It's okay. It's a lawnmower. Should we be cocky about it? Just see if it just works? Probably not. Battery's probably dead. Nobody disconnected the batteries or nothing. I don't have a huge maintenance routine. I'm not neglectful. It's got a couple of grease nipples on it that I'll probably address and that sort of thing. How many hours do you put on a lawnmower? Barely any. I changed the oil in it last fall. I think, well, we'll turn the key on here. Probably says how many hours it has on it. It has 30 hours on it. And I don't know how many, we've had this for years, it's 30 hours. I mean, it gets like 5 or 6 hours a year. I'm not over here doing oil changes like I got a Shell Rototiller sponsorship. So we'll just call her good. All right. What do you need here, honey? Throttle, it's got a choke. Come on, honey, what's your deal? Oh. Just because we're not going to change the oil doesn't mean we shouldn't check the oil. It's brand new, that oil, that's for sure. There shouldn't be nothing living in it. It was inside the garage. Give her a blowjob anyways, the old filter. All right, we do have one issue here. These these housings on the top of the deck here. This one obviously doesn't have a grease nipple in it. And this one does have a grease nipple. Does it work? There's another. Nope, it looks very suspicious like it don't work either. But just occurred to me, why are we doing this out in the gravel driveway in the dead heat? Could be in the nice cool garage here. Taking this apart. So anyways, missing a grease nipple. And I think that was towards the end of the season. So I packed the hole with grease, finished using the mower, put her away. You know how she goes. But I figured we may as well take this cover off, see how much of it we can take apart to make sure we're not headed towards certain disaster, because I looked into this a bit and it looks like you don't just buy a bearing if it goes. You got to buy a whole enclosed unit. And I don't really want to do that, so maybe we can save ourselves some tears. Man, I got the world's crappiest ratchet here. You know it's good when it doesn't. Oh, and it does have a name. Challenger. Challenger. That was a good brand of ratchet in its day, I think. I think it's just wore out. Feels like it's got about 3 teeth in it that work. I'll get this cover off. Oh my, how embarrassing. Hey, I gotta show you my maintenance program. Spruce Stomper, why'd you park that full of grass? Well, you know. What the hell does a grease nipple even grease? That's a sealed bearing. So where does all the grease go? The sealed bearing. This would not be the first time that I've had a piece of equipment that has a grease nipple that is just there for fun. That's as far in as that goes. You can clearly see that's a sealed bearing. That's as far as that goes. Okay? Now what do you guys reckon? If I was a betting man, I'd say that grease gallery, if it only goes to right there, well, that's only about a ½ an inch down. That's about the thickness of a bearing, the width of the bearing. So I think that these are pointless. I feel a little better now. I gotta go get the thatching deal. So I checked with the dealer where I bought this thing. Non-serviceable item. Those are sealed bearings, sealed unit, and Husqvarna, they'll sell you the whole hub. But you could pop it apart in a press and you can replace it with better quality bearings. Grease nipples that go nowhere. Why do you think you'd have grease nipples on something if the grease has got nowhere to go? You know, I don't know. I found working on equipment, like industrial equipment and stuff, if there's a lot of models of something, I could be making this up, but I've just, in my limited experience, bear in mind, if there's multiple models of something, like say when I was involved with industrial air compressors, there's a whole bunch of models of something. Well, they don't necessarily change the whole machine every time they make a modification to that same model. So what I mean is, maybe at one point this mower had hub assemblies that had an open greasable bearing in them somewhere. And then of course they got the mold made in the factory, so they're not going to change it. It's just, it gets a grease nipple put in it and you pay the bill even though it can't grease anything. Maybe it had open bearings and needed the grease nipple. I doubt it, but it could happen. We need fuel. What do we got here? There's a fuel can. I got to start marking these down. I like, you know, I'm like you gentlemen watching, I like to be prepared. I keep a little fuel on hand. But what happens is I don't have a lot of stuff here that burns a lot of fuel. You know, the tractor's a diesel tractor, and well, if I had more time, maybe the quad would burn more fuel, but I'm busy working. So you end up with jerry cans of fuel, and I go, well, how old is that fuel? What can should I use first? I should come up with a system. Let me know what you guys do. What do you label them? Do you got a notebook? Do you care? Guys should probably care. Oh, it's thirsty. Makes you wonder how it was winterized. Probably wasn't. No, it was. I just dumped fuel conditioner in it and ran it until it ran out of fuel. There's two ways to do that I was shown. You either leave something brimming full of fuel with some fuel stabilizer in it, or you completely empty it of all fuel. Tank, drain the bowl on the carburetor, run it out of fuel. And even if you're gonna do that method, dump some fuel stabilizer in anyways as you're running out of fuel, because things happen, and if you miss a drippy drop somewhere, you want it to be, you want it to have some sort of stabilizer in it. This beautiful quality fuel we can buy these days. Are we gonna get through this without spilling? Oh yeah, oh yeah. You guys are witnessing the rare season where we live, where it's warm and the bugs haven't come out yet. Lasts for about, I don't know, 2.5 days. But I'll tell you, it's the 2.5 days makes it worthwhile living here. It's beautiful. Pretty low maintenance. Well, anything could be low maintenance if you don't do any maintenance. Of course, buried in the depths. You guys remember the video where I built this mezzanine on the side of the shop, and I'm pretty sure all the chit chat in the video was about how organized it was gonna be and this, that, and the other thing. Well, guess what? It didn't work out as I had planned. Well, hello, poodle dog. How the heck are you? Now, here we have, look at this serious farm implement. This is courtesy of our friends at Princess Auto. The Red Rock Lawn Dethatcher. Dethatcher? Or Thatcher? I don't know, I'd have to look that up. I have no idea. I swear, English is my first language. I just don't know what I'm talking about. This is a pretty straightforward machine here. If this flips up like that, and then it flips down like that, and it's got little tangs underneath that rip up all the old grass. All right, we're ready to give her a go. So yeah, these are just spring-loaded deals there that rip up all the dead grass. And for better or for worse, we threw a cinder block on it. I guess we'll find out if that's a good idea or a bad idea. Pop her into business mode here and give her safety. All right, phase one complete. Proved the cinder block wasn't too heavy. Standing in the shade here, guy's gonna have to track down a little sunscreen. Geez, I'm tore. I saw an Instagram reel, you know, of course those are always 100% true, that I mean, the sun will kill you, and then the chemicals in the sunscreen will kill you, so pick your poison, I guess. Now we're gonna mow. Well, mow is loose terms. Remember we mentioned earlier in the video that the blades are like blunt pieces of flat bar at this point in time, but we'll throw the lawn sweeper on, we'll give her a go, and I just want you guys to keep in mind, okay? This isn't Bob your neighbor in suburbia mowing his grass because he wants his neighbors to think it looks good. This creates a problem. Fire is a real thing, and it's increasingly a thing more and more every year. For some, you know, way it goes, the weather changes. So we keep a pretty good buffer around the house and the buildings and stuff. You don't want dead, dry, flammable material building up all over the place. So it's a maintenance thing. Oh, you gotta mow the lawn. That's crap job, and nobody wants to do it. It doesn't matter if you're a hobby farm, a homestead, a huge ranch. There's grass to cut. The name of the game. You know, Rodeo, you're a smart man seeking out the shade. Look at that. Snow. It's gonna hit 30 degrees, I think, and there's still snowbanks. Well, that's the way it goes. Mowed, swept, no breakdowns. What you doing, baby girl? Are you planting flowers? No, it looks like you are. Nothing fancy. Sweeper, you know. There's nothing too crazy, this equipment. Rawr. Should we get the tractor out and move some dirt? Okay, let's do that. Well, we'll see what Mom wants. We'll see what the Mother's Day instructions are. The field is mowed. Cleaned up for, well, actually I don't know how much work it's going to be this year because it's bone dry. I mean, the grass is going to start dying before it even starts growing. All right, well, done with the mowing. And what do we call it? Next on the honeydew docket? Hooks.
So I was thinking the big ones there.
Oh, these are the big ones?
Yeah.
Okay, for hanging shovels and such?
Yeah, but then be out of the way, right?
I guess, yeah.
And then...
How many times have you tried to reclaim this shed, do you think? This is going to be the 50th time. Where'd it go? Holy hell. This thing just jumped. That thing just jumped right on my face. Right on my face, on my hat. Look at it. I never seen this. That's not just a normal squirrel.
Here you go.
Oh, it don't like that. Man. Jesus. did you okay, Ruby? It jumped on you.
Where'd he go? Must have gone up the tree.
It just went right here.
Oh, he's right here.
Where? Whereabouts? Oh yeah, right up there. Huh. You ever seen a squirrel like that before?
No.
A flying squirrel, right?
Yeah.
Its legs stretched out and it had a square patch of skin on the whole underside of its body. Like it did actually when it jumped from the shovel onto the dog. It flew, didn't it? Like glided.
Yeah.
Well, that's odd. I lived here 35 years almost. I'd never seen one of them before. Man, I didn't like it on my face. Jesus, I will never be able to move anything out of that attic ever again. I'm gun shy now. All right, lunch intermission. We went in the house here, cool off. We looked it up. 100% was a flying squirrel. I'll include maybe a snippet here. North American flying squirrel. I'm telling you, man, I've lived in Northern Canada my whole life. I have never, ever, ever, never seen one, nor has my wife. Just like you'd picture. Like the red squirrels we have here, bigger, darker fur, and just a great big sheet of skin on the bottom of the dang thing. When it jumped off the shed onto the dog, it was stretched out like a tarp. But we'll check on it after lunch. It didn't, I don't know if it was doing too hot, because when it jumped on my face, I grabbed it and my hat, and well, as one would do, I think I threw it. So a little stunned maybe, but we'll see after lunch if it's still out there. Well, the squirrel's gone. Which is good, I guess. It survived. My loving wife is very caring and, you know, protects all creatures kind of thing. So, because when I jumped out of them rafters after that thing jumped on my face, the first thing I got a hold of was a canoe paddle, and I was ready to battle. Stick that in there. Is it really a project until you've involved the tractor? I don't think it is. You don't gotta worry about too much warm-up time here. Oh, a Kubota beats a shovel every time. You drop it from high up for dramatic effect. Is it necessary? Absolutely not, but it's fun. As a viewer, you must know as you watch somebody, it doesn't matter what channel, what video, as you watch someone drive away from a camera, do you snicker and go, you gotta come back and get that. So much walking. You guys have Mother's Day traditions, things you do for the mom? Well, it becomes, when you have kids, Mother's Day, right, is about your wife then, right? And if you got little kids, well, little kids, they don't do too much. They maybe make a card at school, but you try and show appreciation for the woman you love every single day. But what we like to do is is just purely set up the day, Mother's Day, to do only what she would like to do. And that always is always work oriented. That's how you know you got yourself a good woman. She, you know, some gals might want to go to the spa or goof off or whatever else. We can shut this off. Unfortunately, we do have to shovel a little bit. But yeah, she does not like to do that. She likes the satisfaction of a good day of hard work. You know what? And I may be out here by myself at the moment, but she's dealing with the little one. So never a day off. There's no such thing. Not for any of us, a day off. So here we are. Dirt. I've spread out. This is black. This is just compost. We get it from. It actually comes from the garbage dump. It's got a lot of yard waste in it, so it is pretty heavy on the trees. So it can be quite acidic. We bought a bunch of sand in, and then now we have the garden mix and some peat moss to hold a little moisture, hopefully, and we'll just kind of till it all in with the native soil underneath. But I'm not super keen on the shovel work, but the peat moss, there's less of it, so I think we should toss it out with a shovel just so we get a little bit of coverage. I mean, you're never done with a garden. You're going to be adding material year after year after year, tilling things in. And ideally, depending on the way you look at gardening, I know so little about the subject, just, you know, plug your ears. But I think probably the less tilling, the better, you know. There's the big no-till phenomena, and, you know, there's every 2 steps there's a different craze about gardening. But I think the less you got to muck with it, the better. The richer the soil gets. Get a bunch of worms in there, good rich dirt. The leftovers, you know, your potato tops, your pea vines, all this kind of jazz. Leave them in there. Chop them in, I guess, and see what grows. I think there's a lot to learn about growing stuff, you know? Yeah, you can get stuff to grow, but it's not as easy as it looks. Well, I'm done with shoveling. Who would have guessed that? Made it 20 minutes. I'm switching to the tractor. We've got her to the point where I'd say it's rakeable. We're not looking for like landscaping flat here, but the better off, the flatter it is, the better before you rototill it all in, I think. I can't help but appreciate whenever I'm doing stuff like this that people worked harder back in the day. There was no tractor. You know, they would have hauled all this dirt by hand, shoveled it into a wagon, maybe a horse. There's a garden plot at my granny's farm. What the heck is that? Chunk of plastic. Everywhere plastic, eh? That has been there since, well, I think they started, well, it was there before they moved there. Back in the 60s, somebody probably started that garden plot. Earth as black as the night. You never seen a garden like this, just rich. And, but effort, you know. There's a picture of a gentleman, I'm gonna forget who it is. Old boy, work pants, proper though, right? Not like me, I look like a hobo. Proper, he's got pair of pants, his shirt's tucked in. He's wearing a proper cap, you know, like they would have back in the day. He's got a hoe in hand, tilling that garden plot that's still there now that my granny works over. Should be working on it this summer. That's what I'm hoping to get going here. I might not reap the full benefit of this garden plot, even in my lifetime, because it'll just keep getting better and better, but I think it's cool to know that you know, as long as people keep up with that kind of tradition, that somebody will use it. You know, my parents have a nice garden plot. A lot of our family do. You know, even if you're not growing your full winter's worth of vegetables or something, you know, we're not pioneers. You got a little bit of it, you know, it's good for the kids. The kids like to see it grow and give you something to be proud of. I mean, you got all this space, you might as well do something with it. Gotta go snag the rototiller. I left it loaded in the trailer for our convenience. I was having a thought in the garden, as I often do, you might have noticed. I was thinking about the garden plot out at the farm and all these old timers. When we lived in town briefly, the lady that lived next door to us, she had actually, for much of her career, been the master gardener for the city that we live in, or lived in, which is quite interesting. So she was in charge of the whole shebang. Title, master gardener, so they decide what and where to plant, what sort of things to plant based on the soil types and our climate, and all this kind of good stuff. Now at the time, even when we first moved in there, she was, oh man, she had to be in her 80s. Massive garden. Now, I don't know what you guys think a big piece of property in city limits is, but here, these were, I think ours was a third of an acre. She owned 2 double city lots. So I think she had near an acre. Yeah, about an acre, whatever size. Let's call it an acre of garden. The house was on part of it, but every square inch, right, was just covered in garden. It was unbelievable. And it got me thinking about that. So if someone like that, or the folks that started the garden plot out at the family farm there that still exists today, do you think that they would look at us using the tractor and rototiller and modern conveniences? Do they think they go, that's cheating? Or do you think that they would be engaged and be proud of using the modern advantages to creating something constructive? I think they'd be keen to it. That generation, you know, from the Depression and that sort of thing, I never met any of them that were adverse to progress, as long as it was constructive progress. You know what I mean? Like, take for instance, you probably got a grandfather that ran maybe an old cable machine, like an old dozer, a cable dozer. Well, then when they came out with hydraulics and they put him on one of those, or a modern excavator with hydraulics, well, he didn't go, oh, this is crap. They probably were like, this is awesome. This is awesome, you know? Can you imagine working a farm that only had horses, and then you get your first tractor? I guarantee you nobody ran out there and goes, oh, we don't need this riffraff here, get this out of here. They engaged it. They're like, this is fantastic. So I think that they would be proud to look back on a generation that's taken advantage of modern convenience to better ourselves. You know, we're going to grow food to feed our family. It takes up less time. It's easier on my body. They'd be keen for that, as long as it wasn't taken for granted and squandered. I think that's what they'd think. You know, I think if you went to all the trouble to have all this stuff and then never did anything with it, or never touched it, or showed much interest, or tried to get your kids interested in, that would be disappointing to that generation. And they'd be right to be disappointed. But, you know, if you're working hard, so what if I'm using a gas-powered rototiller and using a quad to haul it up there? They'd do the same. I think if you took somebody, you took somebody from the 1800s, showed them in this gas-powered rototiller, they'd go, absolutely, sign me up for 12 of those. As long as you didn't take it for granted, you know? If you still applied yourself and got dirty, I think, I think that's what people respect. Nobody respects a deadbeat, you know? Well, why do you grow a vegetable garden? I could buy carrots at the grocery store. True, I guess you can. What if you couldn't? Do you ever think of that? What if you couldn't? Wouldn't be good. Isn't that gorgeous? Man, I'll tell you, a lot to be grateful for. Well, I am breaking the rules a tiny bit on the shop. You can remember, if you guys really rack your brain, what was the rule? I said, I'm gonna clean it totally out and I'm not gonna put anything back in until the stuff inside is built and we can move in proper. I fudged the rules a smidgen. I've been putting things in here that have wheels on them. I'm gonna put the lawnmower in here. I'm gonna put the lawn sweeper in here. Technically, the sawmill is on wheels, rollers, technically, so it's okay. Fingers crossed, maybe we got something cooking for that. to get back to it. You probably watch the channel and go, geez, Murphy, is this guy into something new again already? Didn't he just do that? And what happened to this project? Is my nature. I'm working on it. I never forget. I just postpone and get enthusiastic about, well, approximately 57 other things at a time. Good afternoon, Honda. You in the mood today? Always in the mood. Always in the mood, the Honda. I think I can manage. 1, 2, 3. We gotta be committed. There we go. Another piece of Husqvarna equipment. Now, none of us that own this Husqvarna equipment, and I'm probably pronouncing, man, there's another thing people are all bent out of shape. The pronunciation of steel chainsaws, or power equipment, and Husqvarna, man, they get bent out of shape. And the funny part to me about that is, I've had it a few times in the comments, I'm not trying to mispronounce it. Like, it's a regional thing. You never heard somebody with an accent before that pronounces things different or don't know any better? Now, are you a fuel it up before you start going kind of guy? Or are you a start going, run out of fuel, then refuel kind of guy? I'm not gonna lie. For much of my life, I was the run out of fuel in a hurry type of guy, but I'm trying to change all that. Be a little more responsible and prepared. But anyways, however you pronounce it, and then the real funny part is they'll try to correct your pronunciation in the comments section via text. You type out, well, it's not pronounced this, it's pronounced this. I'm like, well, you know that you're just writing words down, right? So I don't actually know what you mean. I mean, you can spell it 57 different ways. I'm not gonna. So, Husqvarna, deal with it. That stopped it. Look at that. Oh, the rock. I told you there was rocks in here. Just able to save that. Like that. Popped her up and stalled her out. The original soil, like I said, very rocky. Looking good though. It's fluffy. We've actually got enough soil in a lot of this spot that the native soil isn't even coming up through, which is perfectly fine with me because had a lot of weeds. Before I did this, actually last fall, we took the tractor and I scooped probably the top, I don't know, 8-10 inches or more off the top of all this. Dumped it over the bank, just got rid of it. It was full of seed, right? Weeds were real thick. And once they get in, it's hard to get rid of them. So we did that and then we covered it with black plastic and it was pretty much weed free here this spring. It kind of killed everything off, so. These. Those are fans. I feel like I got these for Father's Day. Or my birthday. My birthday, I think. You just bought them? Man, I'll tell you. I got such a good wife. All it takes to keep her happy is a Rototill, a bit of dirt. Happy to oblige. Mission complete. Look at these lunken rocks, eh? There's a few in there, a few big ones. That's way better. Holy man, we needed a pickaxe just to get a carrot seed in last year. All right, one last tilling project here before we can return this beautiful rototiller to its rightful owner. We need a spot for the spuds to go. I do this every year, and tell me if, you know, if you guys do this too. We got the huge garden. Now it's got beautiful soil, but I always get in this, I don't know what it is. It's like a poverty mindset, you know? I think, well, geez, you know, what if we start starving to death this winter and we don't have 300 pounds of potatoes? Well, our family doesn't even really eat a lot of potatoes, but I always get wild and plant a whole ton anyways. I don't want to take up real estate in the garden. So every single year, oh, my wife, I could just picture her shaking her head right now. Every single year, I till up some random patch of dirt on the property and plant even more potatoes. So we'll plant a row of potatoes in the garden, and that's not enough. You need more. So what I do is I pick a spot and then we till them up. I was gonna go down by the lagoon because the soil's real good back there, but you know, with water and such, it becomes a problem. So I think I got a pretty ideal location here. Ideal is a loose term. But then we can till up and plant, you know, make sure we got like 300 pounds of potatoes in the fall because, well, then you got something to throw out in the spring. I never feel bad about it, planting stuff. I love to watch it grow, and if you don't eat it, well, just till it back into the soil and rock and roll. All right, so out of sheer convenience, oh, and very scientific testing of soil conditions and drainage types and sun exposure, and I didn't do any of that crap. Right here, we have this hillside, and it's planted in like shrubbery and plants and all this. It's a work in progress. We've been at it for probably 2 years. We graded it all out with an excavator when we did the landscaping for the yard after we built the house and stuff. There's quite an elevation change here. It's got to be, I don't know, 20 feet? No, is it? It ain't 20 feet. What do you figure? It's got to be 15 feet. Anyways, don't matter. Hillside, cedars, plants, creeping flowers. My wife, she's got 400 million species planted on here. My point, we water this hillside, right? Once in a while to keep things from dying. So I thought, well, what better place to plant potatoes? Well, it's right at the bottom of the hillside because we're already going to be running water, and if we got to do any maintenance and stuff, we're already in the gardening mode. And I don't know, the soil, that doesn't look half bad, and we're down deep enough that I know none of this is fill from, you know, property owners days gone by. This is native soil, so it shouldn't be too rocky. Not too shabby. Pretty hard though, the ground. If you're curious if there's mosquitoes out, oh yeah, big time. Man, guys, I'm grateful for these ramps. That Rototiller has incredible traction. I told myself I was only going to do a couple strips. I did more than a couple strips. What do you figure? Think we get a couple spuds in there? It's very, very heavy soil. And oh yeah, see, I went all the way around. Whoop, went all the way around the corner there. That's probably, I don't know, 10 feet wide and 60 feet long. Figure we can get at least 1, 2, 3 rows in there. Maybe 2 rows of spuds and what's another fan favorite? Ooh, spaghetti squash. We got a household that loves spaghetti squash. If you've never had it, it's a squash that when you cook it proper is like spaghetti, wet spaghetti, but I love it. I actually prefer it over noodles. My wife makes a dish, spaghetti squash, you know, like spaghetti meatballs, and it's like absolutely to die for. They're not that hard to grow. They grow quite well here. And interestingly enough, If you don't want to just grow them on the ground, because you got to kind of keep an eye on them so they don't kind of go rotten on you or something like that, you can put up a trellis and they will grow vertically if you hang the squash itself in like a hammock. You can use a piece of fabric or something like that to keep the weight from ripping the vine down. They do quite well that way, but yeah, this essentially is going to be just for potatoes. This all needs to be regraded down here. It's too tall, but that's for another video. That's for another time. I gotta work a deal on getting a cat here. Got to get a dozer in, and all this around the shop is got to be pushed. You know how it goes. You know the Spruce Stomper channel. One thing's connected to the other thing, and that thing's connected to cutting these trees down and then moving this dirt and 1,400 other things. I don't know. I don't worry about it. A lot of folks that don't do anything in a day. I'd be more worried if I was like that rather than tilling up 60 feet of garden patch for potatoes that nobody will probably eat. But you know, satisfaction. You guys got to be doing stuff. Holy moly! Like patting these dang skeeters down. Anyhow, cut her there. Maybe we'll do a video on planting potatoes. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We got a lot of garden work to do. I am sorry about that. Molesting the microphone. But I think we're gonna draw a conclusion to that. We gotta wash the tiller, cut all the bits. If you're sharing rototillers garden to garden, please be ultra careful. There are things, club root, different kinds of worms and weasels, wivel wobbles, I don't know. But there are stuff you do not want to share garden to garden, because once it gets in the soil, club root's a good example of that. She's in there for keeps. It doesn't fool around. It can destroy your soil, and the only way to get rid of it is to excavate it all out and hope you got it all and start over again. So just think of sharing rototillers between gardens like, you know, it's like sharing needles for equipment. It's that's not a good example, but you know what I'm trying to say. Anyhow, I don't know what the next adventure is going to be. Definitely going to be one. And as always, appreciate you checking in with the Spruce Stomper channel. We got man, we got things in store. I'm staring at a treasure up in the driveway right now that you guys are going to be most interested to lay eyes upon. So stick around. We'll catch you later.